think that you have to be a little bit on the fence if you're an Envy fan right now after what was such a good showing in the first map and such a, well, good showing for the majority of the second one as well.
Tenz back over onto the Rays. Had a good showing and they had defended first and ready to run into the stack. There's been super aggressive first rounds with the pistols, but it's FNS that gets the first blood. Gotta put a bit more pressure onto Cloud9, who were forced back. The paint shell is gonna provide a little bit of space, but Kaboose is able to pick up a second. Tenz is just chipping away at Akis, but does eventually get the frag. Bit of an awkward one. Kaboose almost goes down to the boom ball, but doesn't quite get the kill confirmed at least. And man, it's a scrappy one to begin with, Tom.
Yeah, definitely not quite as clean as either of the teams would have liked. Of course, we've seen the Cypher of Vice gain some information for his squad, but the rotation's quite far behind. Already gonna make their way through to try and clear out some of these close positions. You can see the pings coming onto the spike as well, just to give them the shots if necessary. It's gonna be very difficult for them to clear all of these angles, especially now with mummAy also falling back. He is on that Cypher once again. Cage gonna go down, but they've already pinged it. This is exactly what I was mentioning. Just in case they go for it already, another will fall as FNS finds a pick, and it will be mummAy to close out one more.
They did start with the advantage. They got the frags and put Cloud9 on the back foot as they tried to play aggressively on the defense. It's going to be a much more balanced out affair, I think, for both sides. So every round that each of them could take is super important. It's still bizarre for me to see mummAy moving away from the jet role that we've seen him play quite a lot over to Cypher to allow Kaboose and FNS to be the main duelists. But regardless of who plays what, Envy always run this double duelist comp. It always tends to be very aggressive. But this is the most balanced composition I think we've seen from them. They have the Sage back in, which they didn't have for Ascent. They're very aggressive-minded, but they still have the support players able to do the work whenever needed.
I am surprised, though, in a sense. I guess maybe it's because we're going to see more of a static operator coming out from mummAy, so it's not really as needed for him to have that fast movement. But at the same time, like, just how strong FNS is as a Cypher to lock down a site, I think it's a lot of pressure to put onto your operator player to also be the Cypher. That's a hell of a lot of work to do. If he was in-game leading, I'd pretty much call him a one-man team, but we're going to see the stack out from C9, a complete gamble. It didn't go too well last time. It's looking like the same might be said once again. It's very difficult to get into the mind of FNS, and, well, thus far, they're not getting in the mind of FNS.
Not at all. It's funny to see the B push coming through, both sides stacked. Completely missing it, but you would expect that. Cloud9 not having really all that much money, they have to just dedicate to something like that. And unfortunately, they dedicated wrong, or at least Envy read it well enough to go to the other side. So really, Cloud9 are only hoping to get a couple of exit frags really at this point. Nothing too much lost. They lost a pistol. They tend to lose the round following. It's the third round that's going to be super important for them. Pick up some of the Phantoms, some bigger guns. But the fact that they didn't take any out of Envy's hands might bite them in the backside at a later date. We just don't know yet, but a perfect start for Envy so far on this attack. But it's a long road to sort of win out this best of three. We're almost at the end of it. We still just have the rest of Bind to go.
I don't know. I feel like maybe one of these teams should think about just signing Roker, and then you can just win every eco round, and you don't have to worry about it at all. He was mad with the Sheriff yesterday. I think he could give anyone a run for their money. But this is where we get to see the investment, and of course, we witnessed in the last round just a ghost picked up for mummAy, and the reason for that is that he is going to invest into that operator. So we'll see how that's actually going to work for him, because normally the Cypher within the attacking side is used almost as a lurker, sat on the other side of the map, just holding down the fort with all the tripwires. In this case, it looks like he's actually going to try and take a fairly aggressive stance into that A short position. Starting to really aggress, and he doesn't have much of an escape. Of course, I guess he could try and throw down a cage, but Doesn't seem like there'd be much of a chance. Not like his normal self, where utilizing the dash of the jet or even the updraft to get away. He coming in, that's a nice shot though. See you later, Tenz. The push from the rest of the team, looking to now come in with the wall going down, leaving Shinobi isolated. Excuse the pun. Well, a tough retake for the rest of the team. Still the Omen needing to rotate back around, although they have at least made their way further out onto the site. Problem being, though, this elevated angle from Kaboose might not be expected. In fact, he hits the instant shot with a lot of the utility starting to fade away because of how much time it's actually taken this rotation to come in. There's even a flank coming. This is going to be a big surprise. They may not even need it as FNS is coming in on the back and there's absolutely no one to even spot. Eventually, he'll get the kill onto Shinobi instead. And they will take a 3-0 start. Great work from Envy.
Great start for mummAy to get that frag onto Tenz. Really sort of put him out the server for the round. It was even nice play from FNS to go on that mad flank just to keep everything under control. Cloud9 went for the fake defuse. Envy backed off and gave a lot of space, so that could have been problematic for them. But the way that they responded was calm and controlled. Their third round, this is exactly what Cloud9 didn't need to happen. If Envy can get on a bit of a roll, they're just making harder work for themselves later on into this game when he eventually starts to pick up a few rounds. So the economy is going to be looking good for Envy for a bit. Caboose misses the shot, so it's managed to pulse to give away his position at least. And Tenz, actually, with the Sheriff, gets the first kill. There's not going to be any grabs of guns. Try and pick up something a little bit better than the Sheriff alone. He's putting a lot of pressure in there. Caboose catches Mitch as he's trying to hold a bit closer. He's still trying to put a bit more aggro. Almost kills with the blast pack. He's going to with that one. Not quite. But Shinobi's down to low health and still manages to get the frag narrowly as mummAy trades.
Yeah, somehow we're into a 2v2. Like, this round looked like it should have been over a long time ago. Akis is there, but Vice has a gun. He's managed to find himself a Phantom. Still tough, and really nice play from Akis just to get himself over the wall, but that was a little bit too close for comfort. Again, like when you see the bot get a kill and then almost a blast pack kill, you kind of expect that one to be nice and easy for the side of Envy, but it's at least made costly. Of course, when you look at the fact that Calypso still has 9,000 in the bank, I don't think they're in any real trouble. But still at least some signs of life from Cloud9, and well, I'm glad to see it. We don't want this last map to just be a blast.
I was going to make a joke about who were you calling a bot, but I think the time has passed now. Double operated over Cloud9 on the defense. And Mitch is going to slow it down as a nice little aggressive angle. Envy have been pretty smart with where they've picked their battles, but I did like how Cloud9 pushed some of the sites aggressively to get a frag and instantly disengage. Actually, we're seeing Shinobi using the owl drone from B side teleport to A, and Kaboose tries to go in and just gets pinned down. The showstopper is stopped, and the operator finds a lot of kills. Mitch has changed up his positioning, might easily catch out where Akis is holding. There might be a bit of a double peek to try and scout that out right now. Cloud9 holding their resolve. And controlling all the site, it seems that the spike is going to rotate to A. But there's still a few people of Cloud9 holding on to the site, namely Tenz and Vice. We're going to just make sure that Calypso can't get away with too much here. There is a tripwire just in front of him too, so if he tries to make a move, unless it's a teleport, of course, it's going to be picked up.
Again, this time starting to tick down, 35 seconds, and
I have the spike.
Calypso still has a reasonable amount of utility. This arc cover to be used. FNS actually caught, and that could be enough. He's used his ultimate to try and get into the site, and he's been delayed to run it all the way back. Akis does get the opener, but he doesn't expect the aggression of Relyks, who's managed to find two. He's kept this round going for his team. Nice shot from mummAy, though. And now it's left all onto one. The timing going to be everything, but he gets the second. Well, I take everything back that I said about an aggressive Cypher operator. mummAy's making it work.
I don't know if you saw the minimap just before we went into the 6th round here, but everybody on Cloud9 died within like 5 centimeters of each other. They all rushed onto the site to clear it, and eventually they were picked apart by Envy. That should have been a round that they won. They had Envy scrambling on that attack. They just got the spike down in the nick of time. but they just isolated themselves, making it easy targets for Envy, and namely mummAy, to get those frags with the operator. Really, these are rounds that C9 should be winning. Like, there's a lot of pressure on them, and if they want to be the best, they've got to be consistently up there with those kind of rounds. But well played from Envy to catch them out. And Kaboose dying early in that round with a showstopper was embarrassing for him, so he wants to start off this round with a lot more energy and most certainly first blood if he can grab it. Maybe just trying to keep Cloud9 second guessing and try and spot out any of these aggressive peaks on the defense just to get an easy old frag.
It's getting to the point in the half as well where making things costly really isn't enough. They need to start winning some of these rounds. They've done some early damage. Tenz, in fact, will get the kill, but the trades are so fast. The showstopper again is going to achieve nothing. Been the most successful ultimate so far, and Kaboose, well, he said he wanted to come back with a bang. 3 kills is definitely not bad. An operator retrieved, though, for Mitch. Can heal himself, but it may just have to be the decision to save. They'll have enough money to buy into the next round anyway, but hey, a free operator's a free operator.
And even then, with Cloud9 not necessarily having good money, they still gave themselves an opening and a chance to hold up on the defense. Tenz dedicating the showstopper, not catching much, and Relyks taking such an aggressive peek and being caught out like that. It was just unnecessary, I suppose. They failed to read the room to see how winnable that map was, and they dedicated some big utility and weren't left with much to show for it, unfortunately. So even though, yes, Mitch gets to save the operator, he might not be able to if Calypso's going to keep pushing him. He's really going for it. He can on some of these angles to see if he can spot him. Knows that he's there. Can he get the frag? Probably not. It's not enough time. Oh, he does! No, that's so bad for Cloud9. Mitch losing out on the operator. So close yet so far for C9 right now.
I wonder if that will affect whether or not he is able to even invest into a lot of his utility. Because they are going to be going for that secondary operator. Vice now picks up one as well.
We go.
Not someone we've seen utilizing it too often. Been a very quiet start for a lot of the teams. 6-0 up for Envy. TP's going to come across, and Calypso actually wide peeks into Vice and still wins the duel. I'm not sure how that's worked, and well, once again, Envy are going to have a man advantage within the first few seconds of the round.
Resurrect is available, and Shinobi's going to add a little bit more pressure with the Hunter's Fury. Gets a tag of a bit of intel, but if anything, all he does is force Envy out of hookah, but they're just going to take it back. Granted, they're using a bit of utility in order to face it. Mitch playing aggressively with the operator on this angle. Does lose that engagement against mummAy, but needs to back out and be careful of hookah being pushed. Forces out the Resurrect from Akis, though. The Envy are using a few of their ultimates. This is a round that they still want to keep. Mitch tries to use the wall boost, but the camera's going to spot him out, so he's going to play a little bit more defensively. And you can see just how much room Envy have to move to another site. Getting that pick onto Mitch, they're going to rotate over to A, it seems. And it's only going to be Relyks there to try and hold them off, but it is going to be a super slow rotation. Might even be a bait at this point.
Shadows traveling. Cover going
Calypso trying to sell the fake as best he can. He's not pulling the rotation of Relyks just yet. The only worry for me is if Relyks actually gets caught in transition. I think he's realized, he's worked things out. The paranoia is big. He's going to have to go huge, though, and he's been blocked off by the wall. Calypso even teleport behind him. Relyks gets absolutely nothing done. Nice shot from Tenz, though. It's a small victory in what is ultimately a round that looks like a loss, but maybe these two players can actually bring it back, as they are going to go pushing into this one. So far behind at this point, I can understand the attempt. But this crossfire should be deadly. Peek from one. Actually, Shinobi gets both. That never should have happened. And now there really is an opening in this round. They brought this back from a 2v5 down to just 2. Another one coming up. Shinobi needs to finish his dinner, and he'll get there in the end. The time, though, is ticking. He's going to start that defusal, just sticking it all the way through. He has to let go, and he hits the shot as well. Does he have enough time? I think he's just about got it. What a play from Shinobi. He's going to win that out, get their first round. That was a 2 versus 5 that never should have been.
Yeah, Envy should have had that on lockdown. They weren't holding crossfires. It was just isolating angles that Shinobi just won out bit by bit. That's what I kind of mean about Cloud9. It hasn't necessarily just been Tenz having crazy games and the rest of the team propping him up. It's been great to see Shinobi and Vice have their really strong, clutchy moments.
Oh, this is a nice.
Yet, Cloud9, that is the 6th round, or 7th round even. 6 rounds that they failed to get. So now it's just a long way up. Even if they want to go into halftime, even on score, it's still a tall order. And Envy want to shut that down. But now that they've got off the board, we should see them relax a little bit more. And if they can start to pull a few more rounds together, they might be able to bring Bind back.
Oh, Vice might be caught reloading. Actually tends to go down. And he's going to go through. Now it's Vice's turn to earn some style points. As he's found 4 kills. How on earth has he managed to do that? We see the shotgun come out in full force, and this time the judge prevails. A second round out of a hero play, and maybe that will be the fire that lights Cloud9.
You gotta hope so. We want this map to go all the way to the end, certainly as us neutrals want it to be. And in any case, like Cloud9, this is what they're really good at, is just creative plays like that. Finding their win conditions.
Yes, this should do.
As narrow as they are in some cases. We want to see more of this from Cloud9. You need to see more of this from Cloud9. There's a power vacuum, I suppose, on who the best team in NA is, and Tenz has been relatively quiet on Bind, but that's a great start to kill mummAy, who's been the main operator player, so the sniper rifle not necessarily going to be in their hands. And a lot of ultimates for Cloud9 too, so they're relatively safe going into this round at least. But they have fluffed up a couple of occasions. There's another kill from Tenz. So things are looking decent for this round at least.
Free for me.
Okay,
Oh, he
we're
gets that
seeing
shot.
a few
What
players
was-
now. Yeah. Style points. And he's going to get his 4th. He's looking for it. He knows that the man on the other side has been tagged. He has the showstopper if he really wants to add insult to injury, but I don't think this would be the right time to use it. And even still being relatively careful. Most of the clutches thus far have been based off these mistakes, but here we go. It's the ace for Tenz. He'll take through a round, and this is now 3 back-to-back. We've had Shinobi step up, we've had Vice, now we get Tenz. I think Cloud9 are starting to roll.
And when they play like this, it's pretty much unplayable for the enemy team in a lot of cases. It's going to be even more tricky now with Envy because they have to save. They haven't got all that much money. The money that they pretty much built up over the first 6 rounds is starting to dwindle a little bit. And now suddenly C9 are 3 rounds behind. You know, it wasn't the perfect start for them. In fact, it was a pretty torrid time, but now they've got out their system. 5 ultimates to go. Very much money on their side for the rest of this half at least. And we need to respond.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't have the weaponry to do it.
Nowhere
They've
to
just got
run.
pistols in this round. It's going to be the Hunter's Fury, just trying to deny any sort of fast push, mainly because they actually only had 1 player initially onto this B site. If you note now, they actually have all of them, and that could be a big issue as the spikes actually got rotating back towards the A. This could be a free plant.
Look at Relyks.
Realize, but behind them, he's in a perfect spot, and he could get the spike on his own. It's been realized as well by mummAy that he needs to try and get away from this. If he loses this duel, the round is over. I have a feeling he might be about to, because that's the spike, and well, probably the round, Ryan.
Shadows traveling.
He isn't quite sure that they're coming from the left-hand side. Guns that could be good, but if he peeks this at the wrong time, he could easily be She-Code. Paranoia is good, and he knows that 2's there, but Kaboose still is able to get the frag as he was the one holding onto a Phantom. But it's bought so much time for C9 to take different spots on the map. 30 seconds left on the clock for Envy to get this spike planted.
Out of charges.
So now it's a case of Cloud9 is just pull back. We don't need to engage on this. Don't give them an opening. Like, just play passively, even play for the retake in some cases. It's all up for Envy now to run through this gauntlet with a lot of utility. Kaboose is going to lead and immediately incinerated by Shinobi as he picks up the second. Trying to spot out wide. Vice is going to get the frag. And whilst it was a bit of a save coming in from Envy, Cloud9 still had some really clever plays to make sure that that round went their way.
Well, 6-4. You have to remember, this was a 6-0 score line, at least in the initial stages, but C9 are definitely dragging this one back. Of course, even if it was a 6-6, it wouldn't be the worst scoreline in the world for Envy, but I do feel like that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow. Tenz, aggressive stance. Actually has the wall to back him up as well. A lot of utility used very early on in the round in an attempt, but I'm glad we're seeing the confidence back for C9. It was something that seemed to go missing for a while from their squad. Nonetheless, they've got this early B stack once again, just leaving the Cypher of Vice to basically hold the site, which is a fairly common job. In the meantime, we are going to see those rotations coming back.
The silence is deafening, really, when it comes to both these teams. They execute. It seems to C9 are wise to it, but they still have people positioned on B just in case there's like a teleport or rotation. It's very likely considering the players there. Running back now dedicated from FNS. He's going to push through. Paranoid even dedicated to get onto Heaven. And FNS has already got their first frag onto Shinobi. Caboose is going to answer to it too. Running back is rescinded. Vice is still just buying his time. He's not going to engage on this. Give off the impression that he's not even there at all. Can catch people out as that spike does get planted. Even uses a cyber cage to maybe take people's attention away for a second.
Camera taken out.
Push back in. And well, it's not going too well for C9. Maybe just Mitch remaining, and I feel like he may want to try and get this operator out of his hands. He does actually have the res, but not really anybody close by that he can actually bring back into the action. And in fact, he's going to lose that operator. Probably not the best. We'll see how the money actually looks for them. They might have had enough cash going into this final round, and I think they, yeah, that's the reason. I was wondering why he was hanging around so long. It's actually just that they have the money spare, so it's not really an issue for C9.
I think considering how bad it looked in the first 6 rounds in particular for Cloud9, going in 7-5 wouldn't be a bad shout, or even 8-4 to be fair, with how much they struggled early on. Granted, they have a few ultimates to use. They have money, they just need to have a bright spell, and really there, I think they just gave Team Envy a bit too much respect and a bit too much space. They pushed onto the site, got the plant in, and it was a really nice rally back that really opened the door for FNS and the rest of Team Envy. And Cloud9 can either really sort of come into their own with situations like this, or just buckle under the pressure completely. So this is a big round for them to show up on and win. Shinobi using the Eldron fairly early to just see how many people are stacked in hookah. Throwing in a bit of damage and kind of giving away his position a little bit as Kaboose is keeping a keen eye on him as he's in right back left of hookah. Mitch playing aggressively now. If he gets caught out here, that would be a big loss for them, but he's still able to get the kill onto Akis. The wall goes up just to make sure he doesn't get traded. And having a resurrect too, it's even more important that he stays alive.
About 45 seconds left for Envy to try and rectify this round, and again we see this 3-man stack towards the site they intend to push. However, we're gonna have Kaboose just peeking his way, and he does a lot of damage, but he doesn't actually get the kill. He's gonna go hunting for it, and he gets one more flying through the air. Vice, however, quick to trade. Looking at Calypso, just trying to find a way back into this one. In fact, now Tenz, he uses his showstopper as well, and he's found another. The spike trying to make its way into the site, but they will deck all remaining players. Calypso with 3 in the end. The Omen closing the half, and an 8-4 attacking side. That is not bad from Envy at all.
Not bad from Calypso either. He was the mainstay when it came to how Team Envy were able to break through. Sneaking behind, getting a kill onto Mitch, who had the resurrect, wasn't able to use it. He was just sort of backed into a corner. Kaboose very much trying to force the play. It's like, oh, showstopper didn't hit. I'm going to get that kill. I swear to God, I'm going to get that kill. And does shoot the shins of Shinobi. Traded, but it was Team Envy sort of breaking on through as much as they possibly could. Now it's their turn to defend. And they're stacked mostly on A. That's where the Cypher's going to be too. So interesting that they have things stacked up in that direction. You may even see Kaboose and Akis go rather aggressively and catch these players that are starting to push up on ramp for C9.
pistol all important, especially for C9 if they're going to have a chance. The paint shield thrown in. That was actually a headshot, I believe. Maybe even through the corner of the wall. Calypso's rotated in and spotted his opposition. mummAy catching off another one. This is starting to look quite bleak for C9. A pistol loss here would leave them so far down on that attacking side. They're going to try and make the rotation back, but there's already a man waiting on the other side. It's going to be FNS. He's close up, and they peek before the scan. He actually hits a second headshot, but it's not quite enough to gain the kill. Kaboose, however, is ready and waiting. And it's left all onto Mitch. His position given away by the trip mine, and while the rest of the team just slowly surrounding him. Great pistol round from MV. Aggressive initially, and then still having FNS just patiently waiting in case they tried anything cheekier. I questioned how he would do in some of these solo sight holds, but clearly just the right positioning at the right time. He doesn't need all of his traps.
And the mechanical skill too, yeah, like he's pretty much all over the map like a rash. I think a lot of Envy have been really good across the series at that, just being able to quickly get onto the site that they need to. They haven't, you know, over-dedicated with stacking on A and then being pushed on B. I think maybe we'll see something similar from Envy right now. They're just going to peek, get a bit of intel, use the wall, and use their utility to just get out. Really, that's all of the info that they want. Even the paint shell used from Kaboose is just going to create a bit of space. They're still dedicated to try and get a frag. The wall boost is going to be used yet again, but look at all of this space. This free space is coming into Cloud9. Free real estate when it comes to B long. They can wrap around and really punish Envy here, as they're so keen on getting a frag that they eventually do get onto Relyks.
Full rotation. Actually, nearly everybody making their way through hookah. Tenz has fought off one. FNS, a couple back in return. And well, the reveal is pretty much going to tell them that there's a hell of a lot of people, though I don't think it actually caught off anyone. That could be a bit of a surprise when they all come barreling out of hookah. The hot hands looking to clear the back angle. Nice shots from Shinobi, though. Just a classic remaining, and now it's on Tombizz, and he has so many players to aim at. He manages one at least, but the round still swings the way of Envy, and that's all that's going to matter to them.
It would be pretty embarrassing for Cloud9 if this map goes 13-4. I don't think that's likely. I think that's probably a bit unfair to even say for Cloud9, but they are not in a good position, to say the least. 4 rounds, all of which came in a row, as you're seeing on the scoreboard. Now they can buy at least. And it was a good idea. I really like the fact that they really exploited that space that was created on B-Long. It's just they didn't have the guns and the utility. It was a save. The best they could really hope for is damage a bit of the economy for Envy, but they haven't really done all that much. Phantoms, half armor in some cases. It's a way for them to try and open up and get those frags, but they're still very much in a dire situation.
Here.
Already. Gonna see Kaboose. A relatively aggressive position. That's the support of FNS a little bit further back, and Vice looking like they might try and challenge this one. The hot hand's not actually going to deny them for too much longer, but this flash could be absolutely everything. The question is, will it catch Kaboose? If it does, it could be a problem, and it needs to come around now. He now goes for the peak, but he's only going to get one. Those trades are fine. And in fact, Tenz has made a cheeky play through A short as well, leaving just the defender of mummAy. We said that he picked up the Cypher just for this map. Can he do anything to deny them? It comes close. But Tenz is there once again. A 1v3.
For you.
That up. I don't really see a way that they can get back into this round. But once again, we've seen some pretty crazy clutches thus far.
I think Akis is just hoping to burden the money on the side of Cloud9. They worked their way through, they put a lot of bodies and a lot of pressure onto B, getting a couple of kills, but Tenz opening up the A site was the reason why they were able to push on through. The fact that Akis is here means that he's not afraid to die. He just wants to confirm a few frags, but now his opportunity is gone. He's just going to get out of there, save his Phantom, but mostly it's to just cause mischief for Cloud9, because I think they've been tripped over quite a few times, and that's one of the reasons where they're 10-5 down. Now we can hopefully see Cloud9 come into their own a little bit, find a bit of form, get a few rounds on a row like where we've seen, and the way that the playstyle seems to suit them. But right now, Envy are going to be feeling pretty comfortable overall, I feel.
Yeah, the lead they have is something that they've definitely earned over the last half, but the more important thing for C9, this is an uphill battle, and I'm liking that we're seeing a bit of investment here. Of course, the saved Phantom for Akis will be something to try and play behind, but they've also invested into the Judge. And we've seen how effective this gun can be at times. Of course, for Calypso, it's going to come down to timing. If he's too far away, that gun really isn't anywhere near as valuable. If he's up in their face, we've seen it can wipe someone out in one shot. Gonna be able to get past as well. This is perfect.
Oh,
He's
no.
even gonna go for the knife. We've finally seen one in the tournament. See you later, Shinobi. This would be a horrible way for things to go wrong, and he's even gonna get the second at range. I said it was trash. It took 4 shots, for God's sake. But he's killed off Mitch anyway. This goes from bad to worse for C9, as they now have a 2-man disadvantage, and around they should have won. And mummAy even gonna sneak up and grab himself a Phantom. They have control of the spike, and well, you can see the fort being held on the other side by Tenz. But yeah, he's just waiting to try and keep the B site. It's going to come down to these duels, and they don't even realize that there's so many players here. This is almost looking flawless, but finally Vice gets one. Something to return. But they've wasted so much time, and now Tenz goes down to Kaboose. It's left onto Vice, 1 versus 4, 25 seconds. They know where he is as well, and they don't check the angle. That was a round with 1 rifle, a shotgun, and some pistols. And Envy make it look like they were the ones with the better buy.
That kind of thing shouldn't have happened, really. We saw a lot of this from TSM yesterday in their game against Bloom, but Shinobi caught sleeping. And even by all accounts, Calypso shouldn't be able to follow up here. Mitch just dedicating to the frag and just completely caught out. Should have been expecting that kind of utility to be used, and we haven't seen Cloud9 caught out to that extent ever since we saw that Ascent game. But this is where it counts. 2 more rounds and Envy has this. So Cloud9 can't afford to be making those kind of mistakes this late into the game. Luckily, Mitch is able to get the first frag onto FNS, which opens up B long quite a considerable amount. But they still have the freedom of the map to try and bend and squeeze Envy in whatever ways that they possibly can. It's a 5 versus 4 and no resurrect on the side of Team Envy.
Nowhere to run!
Oh, Shinobi trying to utilize that under. I feel like we've seen such a small amount of success of that ultimate. And, well, it's going to be the same again. Kaboose, again, going to be playing a little bit more aggressive. Of course, now a man down, they do have to try and take things into their own hands a little bit more. Either that or just try and get a multi-frag on the push, but they're a little bit less viable. mummAy already going to be rotating back to the B site, so more of a split defense, and they're going to make things tougher for the Hold, leaving just Calypso here alone. A Tenz. Oh, it seemed like he was still in the air for that shot, but it doesn't really make a difference. I wonder if Envy are even going to opt to challenge this one. So far away from the action, and the spike down.
There.
Movement is slow. They have to teleport if they want to hop through it, but really it might just be a case of saving the guns, keeping an eye on the teleporter, just in case people want to go out that way to get away from the spike deploying. Another round for C9. Tenz just opening the door for them. Mitch getting that first frag very early on onto FNS was the deciding factor, but they don't want to feel like they're forcing plays there. Tenz? Tenz! No! Why? What happened? No, that's such a big ultimate. Like, that could be, you know, the thing that opens up the round for the next one. But the showstopper finding absolutely nothing. Kaboose is going to spray the door to get some of these frags, even though that's a clean round for Cloud9. There always has to be something that bites him in the ass.
That's a misclick if ever I've seen one. Yeah, that is unfortunate. A wasted ult, and well, something that happened quite recently as well is the ultimate on Raze was increased a point.
This goes here.
Make it now one of the maximized ultimates. And so that's even a little bit more painful for Tenz, but I'll have to see. They've won a couple now, but they haven't necessarily been the cleanest of rounds. And they need to be streaking them together. This back and forth, which we're currently witnessing on the scoreboard, is not going to be ideal. Calypso. For that aggressive peak once again, it seems like they're going to try and challenge through a short. The same sort of play once again. FNS coming under a little bit of trouble. Now, he could use the ult. This gives him his health back, but also finds a lot of information. I like the fact that they've utilized the cage. But, yeah, not quite as clean as he probably would have liked. Now it comes down to Calypso. Nice shot on the back of the operator. A second for him as well. The jump over the top. It is going to be the kill eventually for Kaboose. A little bit of a dicey one, but they sit in this 4 versus 2. If they can clean this up, they sit on map point. More importantly, for the opponents on the other side, this is their chance to cling to life. Vice with a nice start. He's going to find out the information, but he's being pushed. He doesn't realize. That leaves it all down to just one. Mitch to try and clutch this out. They might not expect him to be around the toilet so soon. He's made the rotation, but Calypso finishes the triple. And we'll give the 12th over to Envy.
Calypso coming in to save the day again. He's been a startler performer on this Omen. Just with the operator, you don't really see it in his hands all that much. A couple of dibbles and dabbles in the series generally, but he's going to be holding on to another operator. It puts Envy on match point. Whoever wins this, we will have a cheeky little chat to afterwards to get their perspective on how this unfolds. For Cloud9, it would be a hell of a comeback. For Envy, it'd just be a pleasant surprise, I suppose. Things have gone pretty awkwardly for Cloud9. Hasn't been a complete disaster, but it's just Envy just outplaying him in a lot of cases. And it's all for Cloud9 to do now, forcing whatever they possibly can, and that is a terrible start when we get in the frag onto Mitch. No Resurrect available, which was a big ultimate for Cloud9 to have.
Already we're going to see the shutout of this B site and the fallback of the majority of the players, in fact, all going back to group up as a squad. Is where they've had a little bit more success, just trying to make these plays together, trading efficiently, and while trying to work those after plant positions. Of course, in the last round, they got shut down by the operator of Calypso, which is still waiting in towards heaven. Chances are they're not going to be getting past that anytime soon. In fact, it seems like they're just trying to look for any sort of pick. But I love this from Envy. They've got the opener, and now they stay patient. The only thing I will say is that they seem to have gambled quite heavily in the direction of the B site. 4 players there for a moment, but just as I mention it, we are going to see the rotation back. Information being gathered by Relyks, but with 25 seconds left, I don't know if this information's going to be enough as they look to try and begin this push, but it might be too little too late. There's now 4 players just waiting on this site. There's even the teleport available. This is over. Surely the spray down comes in, but they do get 2 on the entry. They may not expect 2 more to be here as it is done. Envy are going to send C9 down to